has been your experience of careful journeying, and have you always realised it's been a careful journey, or is that when you look back?
Okay, so I mean, my career has been through and through academic. I've never left the university, in fact, from going for my undergraduate and staying there, rightly or wrongly. And I think one of the things that we've reflected on, probably off camera, with some of the contributors, it's quite weird to be labelled like a careful scholar, because then it's like, am I careful? And, you know, all of those, like, how do you think of yourself? So I don't know, I don't actively think that I've been on a careful journey, but I have all the way through really tried to take care of the people I'm working with, probably sometimes over caring too much for the people I work with. And in terms of like going on a careful journey, okay, so I think my reflection would be, I've never been that good at paying enough attention to self-care. I've probably been lucky enough not to have to pay too much attention to self-care, but I think it's like really being aware that there's only so much that you can take responsibility for. It's so affected by, you know, we all know who you're born, which family you're born into, what country you're born into, but then at a smaller level, like the institutions you're working at. So I spent, before coming here to Coventry, I spent 20 pretty happy years at Cardiff University, but I've always been on a research track, and all of my time at Cardiff was on a temporary contract. And I think that really challenges the holisticness with which you can really put in a careful sort of philosophy and journey all the way through, when you don't actually know sometimes, you know, are you going to have a job in 6 months' time, or this sort of thing, and what sort of projects can you go for, in terms of this idea of like carefulness begins with what you care about, what you're passionate about, what motivates you. Sometimes you're having to just go and do the research where the projects and the funding are. So I think it made a massive difference. Like a key point in my career was coming somewhere where you're on a permanent contract, and then you can take more risks. So that idea, you can risk failure because you can be more experimentation in what you're doing, and you can try to do things probably which are less scripted, you know, which are less definite what they're going to achieve. And I think that's part of like this careful journey, having to be an iterative, emergent process, which can be sometimes so difficult in the institutions. So I think it's just trying to get yourself in a place, which I know sounds simple, but it's not, but get yourself somewhere where you can be valued to, you know, keep doing what you believe in, and not have to do, which I've had to do most of my career, a lot of my work all in my own time, which isn't valued by the institution because it's not on a subject that's got an economic value to it. So I think it's like just trying to, balance those two things. Advice for being careful from the outset, I don't know. I think it's just really difficult to have all these careful principles put into practice when you're an early stage researcher. I think it does get easier over time as you progress with your career. And you get more autonomy, you get more responsibility, but you get more autonomy. So that's not very hopeful for early stage academics. But I think the thing that also does make me hopeful for early stage academics, in my day, some 20 years ago, I don't think we pushed back nearly enough, and we just took the conditions and worked with them and worked crazy hours and everything. And I think it's actually really positive and encouraging to see that now early stage researchers are much less accepting of what they're being asked to do if they don't think it's careful enough. So I think that gives me hope that, you know, that we are going to get a culture shift and a change in the way in which people are treated and what they're valued for. So Lindy, your careful journey. So you're not an academic careful journey, are you?
I am not an academic. Not an academic careful journey. I love academics. I do love academics. I love people, and I love people's stories. And I think it's interesting for me coming to care theory as a theory, because I think reflecting on it, probably care has played a very important part in my life all the way through. You know, as a teenager, I became a Christian, and so I had a faith journey which would have encouraged me to care for others, and maybe not as much self-care as like we've reflected on here. And I think, you know, that is a really important element of it. And I've been really, really fortunate that I've had people in my life, and I've sought to have people in my life who I can be vulnerable with, who I can cry with, who I can laugh with. And, you know, not necessarily thinking about a professional care journey, but just a personal care journey, which obviously goes out into my professional life and the other things that I do. And so I think for me, sometimes I find care theory, hesitate to use the word humorous, but it's a, like, I just care about people, and I care about the planet, and I care about things, and I know it's important to care about me as well. I think building careful communities is a really valuable thing, because I think there are a lot of places that aren't careful, and I think, you know, an academic institution is a really important place for careful communities to be built, and for them to be a place where careful communities can flourish, because, you know, we want them to be the ones that are leading and changing what's going to happen next. So yeah, my careful care journey, I think some of this course has perhaps helped put into words and put into context and put into ideas things that to me perhaps have felt quite natural. But I also think there is a valuable lesson in thinking about some of the principles, because I am a people person, but not everybody is. And I think some people who aren't naturally people, who are more task focused and PhD finishing goalpost orientated, I think it can be helpful to have those principles in place, or just to be aware of them when working with people. And, you know, some of those key comments, I'm thinking of some of the people that we interviewed that say people are people, participants in research are people. And like, to me that's obvious, but actually I don't think we always think that when we have a task to do and we need, you know, you're in a rush, or you have the time on your back that you have to get something done. So I think that's helpful.